Chairman of Thai Chamber of Commerce and the Board of Trade of Thailand, Kun Visit Tanti Sunthorn, Chairman of Thailand Management Association, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the Chamber of the Thai Chamber of Commerce and the Board of Trade of Thailand and the TMA, Thailand Management Association, for inviting me to give a briefing on the ASEAN physical connectivity to regional integration, which you laid out is some of the thought for all of you to think about how we stay together in the ASEAN. As all of us know that by the end of this year, the ASEAN will be one community. One community here is not exactly the same as the European country. We will be fully connected through the physical infrastructure as well as some other rules and regulations that we should be working together in order to create more value using the infrastructure and create more value for our economy. As Kun Isra just mentioned that a few years back, 2 or 3 years or even now, we are facing the global economic slowdown. Many countries in the ASEAN, many countries in the Asia are facing the same problems. So how we survive? I think one of the way out is at least for Thailand, we are thinking how to build our local domestic economy or local economy. We have been talking for a long time that in order to be more stable and not affected by any disruption from outside the country. The key is building the strength for our people, for our entrepreneurs. So that's why you can see that our Thai government policy, economic policy, focusing on the SME, focusing on how to build the competitiveness for our entrepreneurs. But anyway, during the slowdown of the economy in the world, Thailand is nonetheless, we have been investing for physical infrastructure since the 20, 30 years. But now it's time for the country to build more infrastructure for the further economic development of the private sector. When we're talking about creating value through connectivity, actually we have to ask ourselves how we connect. You look at the master plan on the ASEAN connectivity, which have been issued a few years ago, and we reduced the time of becoming the one ASEAN community from 2020 to 2015. I mean, if all of us haven't worked together since 20 years back, we will not have the ASEAN connectivity as we would like to see it at this time. As I said, the country in this region, I have to say that in the sub-region, if we didn't work together 23 years ago, we wouldn't see that there are people from Myanmar would be able to traveling to Vietnam by using the East-West Economic Corridor. At that time we called it the East-West Transport Corridor, but now we call it the Economic Corridor. We would not see that the people from China, from Kunming, able to travel from Kunming to Bangkok using the road number 3. From the east to west is road number 9. This is the major work that the small group of the country, this region, had worked together since the 1992. So in 1992, we talk about the Greater Bangkok Sub-Regional economic cooperation by introducing East-West, by introducing North-South. And now, altogether in the GNS, we have altogether 9 economic corridors. For Thailand, East-West, North-South, and now we have the South. We have the South Corridor. South Corridor meaning connecting Myanmar from the Way town to Bangkok, to Sakhel and to Cambodia, as well as the connecting the Way deep seaport to our deep seaport land. So we have now more work to do. But for the ASEAN connectivity, it's not only the land connectivity, it's also the sea connectivity, it's also the air connectivity. But anyway, as I said, creating value through connectivity, first we have to ask ourselves how we connect. I said already, I mentioned already, East-West, North-South, South, and the other corridor as well. Secondly, we have to ask ourselves how we develop our industry. Once you can cross the country, you can cross the border, how we benefit, how we make use of the transport infrastructure. Now Thailand is talking about the spatial economic zone. How we create the spatial joint border spatial economic zone. Because right now, Thailand has been actually graduating from the low-income country to the middle-income country. How we share the fruit of the economy, how we make use of the resources, and how we share the consumer spending within the region. When we look at our economy in Thailand, export growth is not very good for the past 2 or 3 years. But if you look at the border trade actually never slowed down. Actually, the border trade rate of growth is about 10 to 15 all years. Even the overall export, we are in negative zone. So this is the meaning of how we create the value by working together, creating the spatial economic zone at the border at the beginning. But however, how we use it, how we use more infrastructure for individual country is very dependent. It's very dependent on individual country. Thailand actually we are working with the ASEAN, but some we are connecting to the world. So we're talking about how we build competitiveness for our industry, meaning it's not only the SME but also the big corporation or some industry that we have already been developing for a long time, since the 20, 30 years, like industry, the automobile industry, electronic industry. So we come up with the second policy is the super cluster. Spatial border economic zone is one of the cluster. We are not building the individual industry without connecting with other industry in the same value chain. But also we're talking about the super cluster, meaning the stronger industry and develop to the further and upper value chain in the industry. So you would hear about our economic policy on the super cluster.